It's already Wednesday. I realized that just a couple of moments ago. I was like, yeah, I forgot to do something today. Oh, yeah. It's time for the middle of the week thoughts on what's going on in wrestling. And surprisingly, I forgot that today was Wednesday because I've had all this wrestling drama on my mind. So I guess I should start off. Uh, I guess the big controversy going on right now would be Jim Cornette and his resignation from NWA. So, the backstory, of course, most people know it by now, but if you don't, last night on NWA Power, during the Trevor Murdoch and Nick Aldis match, his first match on the show, Cornette, Cornette makes such stupid, silly, old jokes. Um, in describing Murdoch's prowess, I guess you would say, he used the old recycled joke from the 80s and 90s and I've said this before. I've said Cornette's weakest point of being a commentator is his use of these old jokes, which either just fall flat or in this case get his ass in trouble. And so he says the comment about Ethiopians and fried chicken. And Cornette's not dumb in that way. He's of course ignorant, but he's not completely dumb. He could have used any other food product in the world. Pizza, hamburgers, whatever. No, he decided to equate Ethiopians with fried chicken, um, which is funny because, Cornette's such a hamburger guy himself. You think the first thing he'd say is double cheeseburgers. But hey, he did what he did. He said what he said. And of course, the internet immediately got onto that. And for the rest of the show, it was a thing. I mean, it overshadowed pretty much what was a good show for NWA Power yesterday. But fast forward to today, to this morning. Of course, there was an apology last night, not from Cornette himself, of course not, but from Dave Lagana. I guess he kind of stepped forth and just apologized in general for what was said, which is not how it's done. No. In situations like that, you would need a direct apology from whoever said, the errant thing, but they just handled it terribly. This whole thing was handled terribly. Um, in fact, I think the only correct thing that was done was from Cornette by, stepping down and just admitting that in doing so that he did the wrong thing. Of course, we're not going to get the official apology. I doubt we ever will from Cornette himself, but at least we have NWA Power to look forward to without him on commentary um, on the episodes down the road. So that'll be good because like I said before, Cornette on commentary is kind of getting old. They should have been rotating out commentators like the other companies are doing anyway. So this is kind of NWA's fault on a lot of levels. One, whoever left that in, these shows are not done live. Apparently they didn't think it was racist either. So I think there's a little bit more to look into as far as the company practices and what they allow in the NWA. So yeah, that's on them. It's on them to not edit that out. That's on them for issuing such a blanket apology. Didn't even cover the surface. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing to see NWA Power after they've gone, what is it, that's 6 episodes in, very strong, to have this happen. But if they are the company that we thought they were when this all started, then hopefully they can do work and shine past this kind of just leave this in the dust and leave Cornette behind. But, it remains to be seen. Like I said, you've got a lot of other people in that company who were really high on Cornette. Still his fans. Of course, then he wouldn't have been there if they weren't there. So it's going to be interesting with him gone to see what more kind of shakes loose in that company. We'll see. Other things on social media, it's gotten back to, I guess, the way it always has been. It seems like things were quiet on social media as far as wrestling were concerned. But of course, we know it won't stay like that. There's always going to be something, a few somethings that pop up, and then you have the drama. So also we have, I can't even remember this guy's name. He calls himself a journalist, a wrestling journalist, whatever that in itself might mean. But got on his Twitter, and it's probably good that I don't remember his name. He doesn't deserve that kind of attention. He got on Twitter, and without naming names, he mentioned that indie workers who sell pictures, meaning, I guess, posed pictures, not necessarily nude pictures, they might be, but I guess pictures of a sexual nature, that the fans pay for, which happens a lot out there. That's another way of getting income. But anyway, he made the point that for indie workers that are doing so to make money, they shouldn't, I guess, ignore the fans that pay after the transaction is over. I don't know exactly what this guy is expecting, though. I mean, you pay for pictures, whatever they are. That's pretty much all you get. It's not like they have to talk to you after that's done over, And you can sit there and whine and say, well, it feels like they just took my money. Yes, they did. It was called a transaction of service. It happens. There are no feelings wrapped up in that. I don't get why you think friendly conversation should continue after the business transaction has ended. So, and of course, people rightfully railed on this guy. Nobody was agreeing with him. At least from what I saw, nobody was. But then again, I follow some pretty smart people on Twitter. But it's funny that's that, and I guess the whole Jim Cornette fan out there. You've got those two mindsets, and I'll sit there and laugh, but they are, it's not like this is just one or two guys thinking this way. You have a whole lot of people thinking this way. This whole mentality that, oh, you're a performer, I'm paying you, you should give me, more of your time, more attention. And this is who we consider a legend in the business, this man that's getting up there in years, so we should accept anything he says, however hurtful or however damaging it may be, just because he's a wrestling legend. Those two mindsets, that's pretty much why I think wrestling fans are looked at the way they're looked at by the rest of society. We'll sit there and wonder, why do they look at wrestling fans? At least I don't wonder anymore. But people will wonder why why wrestling fans are so maligned, why they're looked at in such a bad light. This week, it's only Wednesday. This week's not even over yet. Just these two instances on social media this week are huge standout reasons as to why wrestling fans are looked at the way they're looked at. Not respected, because quite honestly, a lot of wrestling fans don't participate in the most respectable behavior, which is sad, but that's kind of the way it's always been for wrestling. I know that we're, in the middle of a movement. A lot of fans and a lot of wrestlers are moving towards, breaking down those old stereotypes and those old ways of thinking, which, is wonderful. I think the progress on that is great. I think people are learning and growing, but there's always going to be that undercurrent of not wanting to change, or too lazy to change, or too scared to change for whatever reason. And yeah, that's just something we have to deal with. Other things going on. AEW Dark it was a good episode last night. I'm glad it's back on. I guess at the regular time, even though it started a little bit late last night. It looks like it's back on Tuesdays. When I thought it was moving to a different night, I thought it was moving to Fridays. But it's more fun, I think, to have AEW Dark on the night before Dynamite. So last night's episode was good. It was great to see Chris Statlander work in a match. I'm hoping to see more of her, whether it's in AEW or even if it's, NXT maybe, or even if she just keeps on with the Beyond Wrestling like she has been doing for a while now. I just want to see more matches of her, and I think 2020 is going to be her year. I do think she's going to be signed to a major company in 2020. I couldn't tell you which one right now. I don't know. Either one she goes to, she's going to excel. She's just got that presence. She's got that skill set. Yeah, Chris Statlander is a star, in my opinion, and really good to see her on AEW Dark yesterday. And tonight on Dynamite, looking forward to that as well. And then, of course, going back and watching NXT. Seems like NXT is just leading up to Survivor Series on Sunday. It looks like they're going to have more guest stars from the main roster, main shows, coming to pay a visit. So I'll make sure to go back and watch that too, because Survivor Series does look like it's going to actually be worth watching. Not going to be just one of those shows that you go back and fast forward through. So I'm going to give it a really serious shot watching Survivor Series this year, and just enjoy it, because it looks, the card is set up so differently, and I like the way it's set up involving NXT like this. So that'll be fun. Then there is Uncharted Territory tomorrow night. Another good lineup. Always a good lineup on Uncharted Territory. And just thinking of other things we've got going on in wrestling right now. Survivor Series pay-per-view this weekend. Got a lot of good days of wrestling coming up. On the indies, we've still got a couple more shows. I'm just going through my list of shows that I'm planning on watching here, and I do have a list actually of actual wrestling shows. Then of course Friday, SmackDown. That'll be the go home show before Survivor Series, so that'll be something worth watching. Hopefully, SmackDown's been hit or miss, but on these shows right before the big pay-per-views, they do tend to bring a little bit more effort, or put a little bit more effort into it than what they usually do. So, yeah, full week ahead of wrestling. Got good pay-per-views up ahead for the weekend. And enjoy your wrestling. If you're on social media, just kind of steer clear of all the toxic side of it. Be positive, and you'll gravitate towards positive people, is what I found. But whether you're watching AEW, whether you're following NXT and WWE, just be happy and be proud to be a wrestling fan. This is an interesting time that we're watching, and so it's good. It's good to have all this diversity out there, and we as fans, of course, need to be more diverse as well. Take care.